how would you define the word bad? Throughout my years, I've discovered that bad is more than one word. It has many meanings. To every single person, bad creates different images, different thoughts, different meanings. And this especially turns true when it comes to things like movies, video games, TV shows. Bad for you and bad for another person is different, similar, but slightly different, enough to cause great schisms in how you perceive what is the best and what is the worst. Manos the Hands of Fate is bad. And I've seen many bad things in my life. Many bad things. But of all the bad things I've seen in my life, this bad thing was my favorite bad thing. That is the starting shot and tone of Manos the Hands of Fate, an exposition shot of a town and or city, which the movie isn't set in, and the following scene isn't set in, set to what can only be described as public domain elevator music. But don't worry, there are bad films that start off with the suggestion that they're going to have something of promise, or that they're possibly going to be good. Manos the Hands of Fate isn't one of those films. It doesn't play around and it doesn't disguise what it's going to be.
We're almost there, honey. Just a little while longer and your vacation starts.
I'm getting cold, Mother, and hungry.
Yep, nothing quite sums up the experience that we're about to go through better than footage of a child, poorly dubbed by a 35-year-old actress in Dallas, exclaiming that she's cold and also hungry, causing her parents to spend several minutes trying their very best to entertain her.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is down the stream.
Also keep in mind that for several decades, the very start of this film was considered missing, so the first thing anyone ever saw of Manos the Hands of Fate was this. Manos was filmed using a 16mm Bell & Howell camera, which had to be wound by hand to use. This meant that each shot could only last around 32 seconds a pop. You probably imagine that there are a lot of moments where the scene clearly cuts in the middle and they had to restart the camera, but the thing that seems to happen a lot more often is that actors aren't sure when the camera is still rolling, so you'll occasionally see them glance over as if to say, "That thing's still on?" And for some reason, I imagine either incompetence or irreverence, most of these solemn "is the camera still on" moments are left in the film. You also get the sense that the cameraman occasionally will just film something for the hell of it, knowing that it definitely won't end up in the movie, then they put it in the movie. Like, I can imagine these people being in one of those old-timey studios and having literal stacks of unused shots that they are trying to force into the movie. Which means that occasionally there's these weird, odd patches of silence that very clearly weren't meant to be here, as the editing staff tries their very best to edit in every single outtake and blooper that they can. It really slows down the pace of the film, but I understand the thought process behind it. Sometimes when you make a movie on a low budget, there's the pull in the editing studio to salvage as much footage as you can. But more importantly, I'm pretty sure that if you were to cut out all the awkward moments of silence in this film, it would be 10 to 20 minutes shorter, and at that point it probably wouldn't be feature-length. After spending several minutes desperately trying to entertain their bothersome child, the main characters finally get back on the road. They are immediately pulled over by a patrol officer, as they apparently have a taillight that's gone out. Michael desperately pleads for the officer to let them go, and that tactic seems to work out.
So, can't you give us a break, officer?
Well, all right.
As you'll see as the film continues to go on, these cops are apparently just, like, super chill about everything. I'm pretty sure you could murder someone and then dump the body on the hood of their patrol vehicle, and as long as you asked for them to leave you alone in a strong southern accent, they would oblige. Then we see a long sequence of shots of the road as the main characters continue to drive. This is matched up to what I can only really accurately describe as that Pandora song that you always skip, but it still plays every couple days for some reason.
Inside inside this magic circle. Keep your head up high. Use this strength I have within. It's real and not lie.
I imagine this part was supposed to have opening titles of some sort, but they either ran out of time or money or passion. Then we see a couple making out on the side of the road. They stop to take a swig of cough syrup, to avoid any infections that necking that long can bring about, and then they get right back into the action. The main characters pass their car, and the two keep making out. Then they stop, long after they should have reacted to this, and the girl cries out,
I wonder where they're going.
Then they go back to making out. If you think they're doing a little bit too much of that, just wait. Then driving shots. More driving shots. Lots of driving shots. The sequence was so long and uninterrupted that I only grew more and more flabbergasted with each passing second. I became slowly convinced that this was going to be the entire movie, and that I had died minutes before putting the Blu-ray in, and this was my eternal punishment. Are these the hands of fate? How long do you need to go down this road before you realize that you might have taken a wrong turn? Look at all these varied locations that this one drive manages to cover. How could this all be one stretch of road? So the cops pull up on the kissing couple and ask if they know where the main characters went. Not sure why the cops care. Maybe they changed their minds after the taillight thing.
Why don't you guys leave us alone?
The main characters then drive into a bush and realize that they've taken a wrong turn. Look at his reaction to doing this. How the hell could you not have seen that bush coming? So they turn around and discover a structure that apparently hadn't been there before, being guarded by a strange man. The family decides to approach the man to ask for directions, in a scene that can only make sense if you really immerse yourself in the cliches of this genre.
But the child, I'm not sure the master would approve, or the dog.
This is Torgo. He takes care of the place while his master is away. Torgo is the most iconic character of the film, and his introduction scene is perhaps one of the most strange. Let me lay it down for you. You can't stay the night. I think it's a bad idea. Oh, we just wanted directions to the nearest hotel. There is no place like that here. Well, how do we get out of here? There is no way out of here. Well, how about we stay the night then? I already told you that you couldn't have stayed the night.
Well, Torgo, in or out?
So Mike somehow convinces Torgo through his long, seductive glances, and the family go into the house, as Mike makes Torgo get his luggage. So many things in this one scene. First of all, you have to realize that right now this film is trying to glide off of the cliches of these sorts of old horror films. Oh, and Scooby-Doo as well. Oh, of course the mysterious Gimp is gonna let you stay the night at his house. Why wouldn't he? You should just presume that that's gonna be the case and that he's eventually gonna say yes. And obviously you should bring your luggage in, even though you're only gonna be staying one night and you really don't need to be changing or showering in a stranger's house. And of course the morally right thing to do is to make the obvious Gimp carry all your luggage. I mean, why wouldn't the mysterious sidekick taking care of the house carry your luggage indoors? It happens in every film. That music that's playing right here is used only like twice in the movie, and both times it's during scenes of Torgo limping. And so it's gotten this reputation of being the Torgo's limp theme. A fact that I find a little bit unfortunate, because I do kind of like it. It has this weird like David Lynch film, and like a Twin Peaks scene, it wouldn't feel that off-putting. But in Manos the Hands of Fate, it's become a piece of amazing infamy. Torgo moves their luggage into the back room, and Mike and his wife, Margaret, who is clearly like 19, stare at a painting on the wall of the master and his dog for a long period of time. I know it might seem like that I'm lingering on too many small plot details, but that's because we're like 15 minutes into this. All I've been describing up to this point has been the movie so far. Mike and Margaret ask Torgo about the painting and get a cryptic response that the master has left this world, but that he is not dead as they know it, and that he is with them always. Spoilers though, he's asleep in the back garden. He wakes up later. There's nothing to, like, suggest that he's dead or that he's gone into, like, another plane of existence. So basically, again, this is the writer trying to imitate the genre without understanding what makes lines like that sound cool. And by the way, this is something I see a lot in, like, professional TV shows and film as well. I don't care how cool or cryptic the line sounds on paper. If it doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the plot, don't put it in your fucking movie.
Oh my God. Mike, what was that?
A loud howl starts blaring outside, and Mike goes to see what it is to make his wife feel better. Their poodle runs out to attack the beast and is killed, and Mike goes to bury the dead dog. Quick note, it is never explained what made that noise. Like, there's a bigger dog later on, but it just makes, like, regular dog noises. So this is just another moment that goes totally unexplained, and is just here because it's the sort of thing that these movies are supposed to do. Like, seriously, for all we know, that was actually like a wild wolf, and has nothing to do with the place being spooky.
Did you want me?
We're leaving. Would you mind putting the luggage back in the car?
Jesus, dude, why do you gotta make the gimp carry all your bags around like that? Do you just like see him do that funny little walk? Mike goes to look at their car, which seems to be having some sort of technical issue because, of course, as his wife packs up their luggage for the ride home. Torgo, however, interrupts her to do, this.
What a weirdo.
Don't you ever try that again.
Try what again? I legitimately have no idea what just happened. Mike, help me! A disabled man is barely standing up in front of me. He isn't blocking any doorways, and I'm pretty sure I'm standing in front of a doorway, but I can't get out of this one on my own. I need your help, Mike! Mike! So Mike comes back and explains that their car won't start, and that they'll have to stay the night anyways. Hannah doesn't bring up any of the events that just transpired, because really, you try and fucking explain what that was.
Then where is the nearest phone?
The nearest phone is at the crossroads. That's 10 miles.
I love how it's constantly contradicted by Torgo whether or not the main characters have the option to leave. Like, sometimes he talks about the house like it's some sort of spooky mirror universe, and sometimes he's like, you, my friends, hey bros, if you would like, I could order some pizza.
I'll just bring the bags back to the room.
Now there is a gentleman. Doesn't ask for rewards, doesn't need to be told to do something, only occasionally fondles women without permission.
So in the middle of the scene, for literally no reason, the freaking kid just jumps off the couch and just leaves. Just walks right out of the movie. Lickety split, she's gone now. Oh, okay.
She couldn't have gone outside. The door's bolted.
Yeah, but she did go outside. I just saw her. And the door wasn't bolted. That line isn't mysterious, it just doesn't make any sense.
It was this easy. All along. I've wanted to get rid of that brat for years, and she's just gone. My God. So they go outside to look for Debbie, and suddenly she appears, and she's brought with her an adorable little puppy. Oh, look at your little buddy. What a sweet boy, look at him. Oh, but he's scary, apparently. Apparently he is a scary dog. But throughout the film, he just looks, like, constantly really friendly and energetic, and so it kind of just makes me think of what a cute little super puppy is.
Where, Debbie?
There was a big giant place. It was so dark, but I wasn't afraid of the dark. I had all kinds of funny people in it.
Jesus Christ, was this voice actress on horse tranquilizers? So Debbie takes her parents and leads them to where she found the dog, which is apparently a big ritual location where some Satanists all sit around and stand around some pillars and sleep through the night. This scene always makes me kind of chuckle because it usually goes down with sort of an indirect tone of, "Oh shit, we walked into the second act."
When you sold me this house, you forgot to mention one little thing. You didn't tell me it was built on an Indian burial ground!
Afterwards, Torgo wanders onto the set and starts yelling at all of the comatose patients about how they're all stupid and how he doesn't really need any of them. So it turns out that the man in the large cloak sleeping is Torgo's notated master, whom he serves under as his right-hand man. All of the women around him are his master's many wives, who he's acquired over the years. Would a Mormon joke be out of place here? You know what, I think so. Mormons get a bad rep. Torgo apparently has gotten fed up with going through his life following the whims of his master without any rewards, so he has decided to take Mike's wife as his own before his master can steal her as well. Also, he does this shit again.
Damn, Torgo, back at it again with the sexual harassment.
I'm through with all of you. Through! Through! Do you hear me?
So then the movie lets us have a tantalizing striptease as our leading lady gets out of that stuffy dress into a slightly smaller dress. Ooh, how tantalizing! This flick really knows how to get me all riled up. I'm guessing in the 60s this was like a super sexy moment, but in 2016 it's just kind of funny. Also, Torgo watches, so that's a thing. Mike goes back out, but is attacked by Torgo, who drags him to the nearest post and ties him next to it. This sequence takes a very long time, which is more technically impressive than annoying, honestly. So then the master awakens finally, and the film cuts back to the painting we saw earlier, as if we hadn't figured out that the painting was a painting of him, because, I mean, who else? Oh my god! Are you two making out still? It's been like 15 hours, how have you two not gotten bored? So then the master, prays to his mysterious god, known only as Manos, yeah, there it is, and then he summons his wives to his side, something which he apparently immediately regrets.
The child to live will grow up to be a woman, and as the oldest of the wives, I demand that she live.
Manos the Hands of Fate treats the concept of having a polygamous relationship as if you had about 17 wives and every single one of them were Wilma Flintstone, and I kind of understand a lot of the motivations of this character now, because if I had 17 wives and they were all Wilma Flintstone, I too would keep searching for the one Betty in the world that'll make the whole troop worth it. So the wives have apparently updated each other on what's going on, and they're arguing over if the master should kill the child, or take the child as some sort of proxy wife, so when she's like 16, he'll marry her.
Time for a cat fight! So this is pretty much just like a knockoff version of the Benny Hill theme, right?
So the master goes and finds Torgo, who is asleep in his room. The actor spends a good couple seconds standing up before the master yells at Torgo for his blatant workplace sexual harassment, and then he hypnotizes him or something. Sometimes it's pretty clear that the actors don't have any direction for the scene, so that something will just, happen. Like the master acts like he just remembered a funny joke he heard at the office. And then he spreads out his butterfly wings to show off his hand cape, which gets a little less cool every time he does it. So one of the wives finds Mike and kind of makes out with the side of his head before slapping him. We're 50 minutes into this, by the way. I know it doesn't feel like 50 minutes, but that's only because nothing has happened. So the master breaks up the fighting, declares that one of his wives must be killed, and lays down Torgo on the block so that his wives can kill him, in a tactic I can only describe as fondling to death.
Well, he died doing what he loved.
But then the master pulls Torgo away and puts his hand to the fire pedestal thing, which is actually what kills him for real. Except no, because he's right there. You can see him running away. He's probably fine. Well, I can't wait to see that motherfucker in the sequel. So I just opened up my Blu-ray compulsively, and I realized it comes with one of those little booklets that lists off other things distributed by the same companies, and a lot of it's porn. Mike finally wakes up and decides that he's had enough of this movie and goes back to get his wife so they can finally flee from the scene. But each of them keep falling over and being melodramatic, so they don't make it very far. I love this shot in particular. That kid doesn't care. She doesn't give a fuck. None of this matters to her. The police hear the shots, get out of their car, literally investigate less than 1 foot in front of their own cruiser, and then get back in and drive off. Our dedicated protectors, everybody. The family gets caught and are brought back to the house, where their master is waiting for them. Mike unloads several shots into the master's face, but in a shocking twist they have seemingly no effect. Is that it?
Is the movie over? Oh, that's not good. So once again, we spend a super long time dedicated to random characters that haven't been properly introduced, who drive. And drive. And then they drive. Oh boy, do they drive. I sure love driving. I just love— You two are still here?! But then they get to the house, and surprise, Mike is Torgo now.
I am Michael. I take care of the place while the master is away.
Okay. Manos the Hands of Fate is an imitation of a film. The director, producer, writer, and leading star was a man named Harold P. Warren, who made a bet with a prominent writer of the television series Route 66 that he could produce his own film and have it professionally released. You see, Warren believed that the horror genre was fairly simple to produce, and wanted to show that even someone with no previous experience in making films could shamble something together. Most of the main problems with this film can be assigned to these few facts. That Warren was making a movie without any real experience in directing, producing, writing, or lighting, and that he was trying to make a style of film that he had no respect or appreciation for. I don't think he was actively trying to make a movie in the laziest fashion possible. In fact, I would go as far as to say that most people involved in this film probably cared a whole lot about getting it right. I know the wife didn't care. I assure you that the child didn't care. But otherwise, one of the most alluring parts of the film is that there's so much conviction put into the performances given. If the visuals didn't stick with you so easily, if the performances of the Master and Torgo didn't constantly float along in your mind after you'd seen it, if there weren't all those odd, mysterious moments that kinda don't make sense and kinda make your mind wander further into the universe, I couldn't see anyone considering this to be the worst or the best of anything. If Manos the Hands of Fate was just a tiny bit more bad, no one would remember it, and thus it wouldn't be hated by so many people. Isn't that a little amusing? I watched both of the main films I wanted to review this month at the same time for a viewing party. Those were, of course, Grave Encounters 2 and this film. Two films that no one in their right mind would otherwise consider comparing, and yet putting them next to each other helped me a lot with figuring out what I liked and disliked about each one. Also, we watched It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, but I feel like that's a whole other ballpark. If you haven't seen my other video, Grave Encounters 2 is a sequel horror film where a group of would-be filmmaker students realize that their favorite indie film, Grave Encounters 1, was real the entire time, and they go and find the place where it took place so they can get to the bottom of things. The biggest problem with Grave is that each twist gets predominantly more and more convoluted, including such completely insane moments as the main characters finding out that the YouTube account that's been messaging them was the ghost the whole time, and a giant death portal opening up to consume the main villain in this found footage movie. In comparison, Manos is amusing because nothing happens. I'm pretty sure awkward humor didn't exist before 1966, and then they made this movie, and then there was just a new genre of comedy to be explored. Furthermore, compared to Grave Encounters 2, Manos just feels so much less like a thing. I can easily tell you the story of Grave Encounters 2 in just a few words. In the case of Manos, I can tell you stuff that happens in it, but not what the main storyline is about.
Like, the original poster loudly declares, the plot is as follows. A cult of weird, horrible people who gather around beautiful women only to deface them with a burning hand.
And that sounds like a bad movie, but it's not this movie. It sounds like a really tacky, terrible old 60s film, but even that is more coherent than whatever Manos puts us through. The actual main plot is as follows. Torgo fondles the hair of his friend's wife. His friend drags him to a ritual circle and has him fondled, then blows up his hand and kills the wife that he fondled. I know there's another storyline about the wives wanting to take Hannah and Debbie as slaves or whatever, but the Torgo sequence gets far more attention and development in the end. Plus, this is easily the most memorable part of the film. It's the part that they put the title screen over, for God's sakes. I'm pretty sure that this is the Hand of Fate. I don't know, though. I don't know if I would rate this as high as some people do on the list of the worst films ever made. But I do get why people consider it such. Manos is the perfect, fun, bad movie. You can sit down with your pals and yell at the top of your lungs about how the characters don't make any sense, or how the editing is bad, or how the story just goes on and on and on. And it's somehow extremely entertaining. No one wants to talk about a movie that's so bad that it's impossible to watch. When people do lists of things that they hate, number one is always reserved to that thing that, pisses them off, not the thing they literally can't sit through. But at the end of the day, I do like a lot about Manos, even if it's very little. There are some, little moments and touches that get your mind going, like the fact that the Master has some sort of supernatural abilities, and he keeps praying to a made-up god who also seems to be everywhere but nowhere at the same time. And yeah, I kinda want that cape. I kinda want that cape a lot. Which is why I'm honestly, unironically looking forward to the sequel that's coming out this year, featuring several original cast members, including Debbie, the Master, Mike's wife, and even one of the children of the police officers from the film. I feel like this has the potential of being something that's really fun and exciting, but that's also sort of mysterious in a way that the first film could have been. Because Manos is a sandbox, and there are stories here that you can tell that can be good. And I think if they play their cards right, there's the potential that they could make an actual great film out of this license.
Hey look, they posted a description of their film on Kickstarter. Let's see exactly where the Manos franchise will head from here on out. Manos Returns follows a group of young would-be filmmakers who learn that their favorite indie movie was in fact based on a true story the entire